In the vast, rugged expanse of the Mojave Desert, Jack Morrison lived a solitary life. A retired aerospace engineer, he had chosen isolation over the hustle of city life, preferring the silent company of the stars to the ceaseless chatter of people. His days were filled with long walks and his nights with stargazing. One evening, as the sunset painted the desert in hues of fire, Jack noticed something unusual, a bright light streaking across the sky, far brighter than any meteor he'd ever seen. Compelled by a mix of curiosity and his old scientific instincts, he grabbed his binoculars. The object was not just falling, it was crashing, leaving behind a trail of smoldering debris. Driven by a sense of urgency, Jack grabbed his emergency kit, mounted his old reliable Jeep, and headed towards the crash site. As he navigated the rough terrain, the night enveloped the desert, transforming it into a landscape of shadows and moonlight. Arriving at the site, he was met with a scene out of a science fiction novel. A small spacecraft, unlike any human engineering, lay embedded in the sand, its hull glowing faintly with residual heat. Cautiously approaching, Jack could see that the craft was severely damaged. He searched the perimeter and found an alien figure, a girl, unconscious and evidently hurt. She was unlike any being Jack had ever imagined. Her skin shimmered with a subtle luminescence, and her features were delicately humanoid, yet distinctly otherworldly. Despite her fragile and foreign appearance, Jack's innate urge to help took over. He gently lifted her, noticing the lightness of her body, and carried her to his Jeep. He drove back to his home, a modest cabin equipped with the bare necessities and some remnants of his past life's technology. Once home, he laid her on the couch and examined her more closely. She had several wounds that seemed to burn with a faint phosphorescent light, possibly a sign of her alien physiology. Jack used his old medical supplies to clean and dress her wounds as best as he could. As he worked, he wondered about the decisions that led him here. He thought back to his days working on spacecrafts, dreaming about the stars and the possibilities of life beyond Earth. Now, as if answering those long-forgotten queries, the universe had literally dropped a piece of itself at his doorstep. Throughout the night, Jack monitored her condition, applying cooling packs and makeshift salves. He was out of his depth but determined. His mind was abuzz with questions. Who was she? Where did she come from? What would happen when she woke up? As dawn broke, the girl's eyelids fluttered and slowly opened. Her eyes, a deep, vivid violet, fixed on Jack with an intensity that took his breath away. She spoke, her voice musical but filled with pain. "Help me, please." Jack nodded, his mission clear. "I'll do everything I can to save you." With those words, a new chapter in Jack's life began, one filled with the mysteries and wonders of a universe he had only ever dreamt of exploring. He didn't know what awaited him, but he was ready to face it, driven by a newfound purpose. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the blinds, Jack's home took on the air of an emergency ward. The alien girl, regaining a bit of her strength, tried to sit up, her movements awkward and pained. Jack hurried to her side, offering support. "Easy," he murmured. "You've been through a lot." "Where am I?" Her voice was clearer now, the musical quality mingling with confusion and fear. "You're safe," Jack reassured her, helping her lean back against the cushion. "You crashed in the desert near my home. I brought you here to help." Her eyes scanned the room slowly, absorbing her surroundings, then settled back on him. "I am Arlia," she said, her gaze intense. "I must contact my people. They are in danger." Jack nodded, understanding the gravity of her statement. "Tell me what you need, Arlia. I'll do what I can." Arlia explained that her ship had been sabotaged, forcing her to escape in a smaller craft, which eventually led her to Earth. Her mission had been crucial, to warn her people of a looming threat that could destroy their civilization. Jack's old workshop, cluttered with relics from his aerospace career, transformed into a makeshift communication hub. They pieced together a rudimentary transmitter from the remains of her ship and whatever compatible technology Jack had. Arlia guided him through the alien technology with patience, her knowledge vast and detailed. Working side by side, they slowly bridged the gap between human and alien technology. The task was daunting, but Jack's expertise and Arlia's instructions melded together, creating a symphony of science and ingenuity. As they worked, a bond formed between them, built on mutual respect and a shared goal. Jack, who had once gazed at the stars in wonder, found himself directly interacting with a being who lived among them. Arlia, in turn, found a surprising kinship with this human, who offered his help without hesitation. Progress was slow and labor-intensive. They encountered numerous setbacks, as Earth's technology was not easily compatible with the advanced systems Arlia was accustomed to. Frustration mounted, but each time, Jack's calm demeanor and Arlia's determination pushed them forward. Finally, after hours that melded into days, they completed the transmitter. Arlia adjusted the settings, her fingers moving with precision over the alien controls. She paused, took a deep breath, and activated the device. A high-pitched whirring filled the room, gradually stabilizing into a hum. They waited in tense silence, staring at the screen that flickered with strange symbols and patterns. Minutes passed, each one stretching longer than the last. Just as doubt began to creep into Jack's mind, the screen burst to life with a flurry of alien script and an incoming audio signal. Arlia's face lit up with a mixture of relief and joy as she communicated with her people. Jack could not understand the words, but the emotion was unmistakable. After a brief exchange, she turned to him, her eyes shimmering with tears. "My people are safe now, thanks to you, Jack. We have warned them in time." The success of their endeavor seemed to lift a weight off Arlia's shoulders, but her next words hinted at more challenges ahead. "The threat is still out there, and I must return to confront it. But I need to recover and learn more about your world and its resources." Jack nodded, his mission clear once again. "You've got my support, Arlia. Let's get you back on your feet, and then we'll tackle the next problem, together." As the days turned into weeks, Jack's modest cabin became a nexus of interstellar strategy and recovery. Arlia, while mending from her ordeal, shared more about her world, Terilia, a planet of vast oceans and floating cities where technology and nature existed in harmony. The threat looming over her people stemmed from a rogue faction within their own society, one that sought to exploit their technology for domination. Under Arlia's guidance, Jack began to understand the complex energy systems used in Terilian technology. His garage was cluttered with holographic blueprints and alien tools, the earthy smell of grease mingling with the ozone tang of Arlia's equipment. Together, they built a small-scale version of a Terilian energy converter, which could potentially offer Earth a new way to look at renewable resources. But every breakthrough in the lab was a reminder of the impending danger facing her home. Arlia's recovery was punctuated by training sessions where Jack learned to operate Terilian devices, his fingers slowly adapting to the unfamiliar technology. Meanwhile, Arlia adapted to Earth's customs and environment, occasionally accompanying Jack on walks through the desert. Here, amidst the undisturbed sands and resilient flora, she saw parallels to her own world's struggles between preservation and change. Their discussions often veered into plans on how to strengthen her people's defenses against the faction's aggression. Arlia proposed creating a series of defensive satellites that could detect and neutralize threats from space, an ambitious project that would require both her advanced knowledge and Jack's engineering skills. One afternoon, as they tested the energy converter, a surge of power unexpectedly shut down the system. Frustration was evident on Arlia's face as she tinkered with the device. Jack stepped in, his hand on her shoulder in a calming gesture. "We'll figure it out," he assured her, his voice steady. "We always do." Encouraged, Arlia nodded, her spirits buoyed by Jack's unwavering support. "You're right. Let's approach it from another angle. Maybe we can integrate an adaptive feedback loop to stabilize the energy flow." Inspired, they returned to the drawing board, their minds racing with possibilities. Hours later, they had not only fixed the converter but improved it, making it more efficient than Arlia had initially designed. This success bolstered their resolve to continue their work, despite the challenges. One evening, as they gazed at the stars from the porch of Jack's cabin, Arlia pointed to a faint light moving across the sky. "That's a Terilian scout ship," she explained. "They're keeping an eye on me, making sure I'm safe. Jack looked at the light, feeling a mix of awe and concern. Do they know I'm helping you? Yes, and they're grateful. You might not realize it, Jack, but you're now part of a bigger universe. Your actions here have repercussions out there, Arlia said, gesturing to the stars. The weight of her words sank in. Jack, once a man content with his solitude and simple life, now found himself at the forefront of an interstellar alliance. As they turned their gaze back to the desert, the night seemed less dark, the stars more connected than ever before. With renewed vigor, they prepared for the next phase of their plan, sending a message of peace and an offer of alliance to the other civilizations in Arlia's interstellar community, hoping to build a coalition strong enough to thwart the rogue faction. Each step forward was a step into the unknown, but together, Jack and Arlia were ready to face whatever challenges came their plight. With their plans solidified and the makeshift communication hub buzzing with signals, Jack and Arlia began their diplomatic outreach to other civilizations. Arlia, fluent in the languages and customs of her galactic neighbors, took the lead, her voice both calm and persuasive as she transmitted messages across the stars. Their first response came from the Yalith, an aquatic species whose shimmering cities were hidden deep beneath uncharted waters of their oceanic planet. They too had felt the ripple effects of the rogue faction's ambition. Their leader, through a translator device that rendered his bubbly speech into clear English, expressed an eagerness to join their coalition. Next, they reached the Myriad, a collective of sentient plant-like beings from a lush, forest-covered planet. Their response was slower, more deliberate but equally supportive. They had long foreseen the rise of aggressive tactics among the stars and prepared defenses that could shield entire planets. Each alliance brought new resources and knowledge. The Yalith offered their expertise in underwater engineering and stealth technology, ideal for hiding installations and ambushing enemy fleets. The Myriad contributed their vast knowledge of biotechnology, enhancing the resilience of living beings against potential threats. As Jack witnessed the incoming pledges of support, he marveled at the network of cooperation stretching across light years. His role grew beyond the confines of his desert retreat, becoming a fulcrum of interspecies strategy. He adapted his engineering skills to integrate the diverse technologies offered by their new allies, each innovation sparking another idea, each day stretching his old world views. Meanwhile, Arlia's strength returned, and with it, her resolve to confront the faction directly. They worked together on a new prototype ship designed to combine the technologies of their allied worlds. The ship would be capable of swift, cloaked travel, armed with non-lethal deterrents and communication scramblers meant to disrupt the rogue faction's operations without escalating violence. As they assembled the vessel, a rare event occurred. A direct message from the faction leader, transmitted in a harsh, grating tone. He warned them to cease their efforts, misunderstanding their defensive preparations for an offensive strike. Arlia responded not with threats, but with an invitation to discuss peace, her voice firm yet open to dialogue. Days later, representatives from the Yalith and Myriad arrived on Earth, their ships appearing in the sky much to the awe and fear of the local population. Jack had prepared, setting up protocols to keep their meeting discreet. The world governments noticed, of course, but Jack and Arlia managed to communicate the benign nature of their visitors and their purpose. Under the clear desert sky, the representatives convened a council. They sat in a circle around a holographic map of the galaxy, each taking turns outlining potential strategies and sharing insights into their unique abilities. Jack, though human and once an outsider to these cosmic affairs, found himself deeply involved, his suggestions and insights respected and valued. The plan they crafted was multifaceted. Establish a network of surveillance outposts using Yalith technology to monitor faction movements, deploy Myriad-developed biological shields around vulnerable planets, and prepare a series of diplomatic missions to negotiate truces and treaties. As the council adjourned, the representatives returned to their ships, leaving behind a sense of unity and purpose. Jack and Arlia watched them disappear into the night sky, the stars seeming to brighten at their as the prototype ship ascended from the Earth's atmosphere, slicing through the expanse of space with newly integrated technologies. Jack and Arlia felt the weight of their mission. The ship's interior was a harmonious blend of designs, from the sleek, aquatic-inspired interfaces of the Yalith to the organic, vine-like embellishments of the Myriad. Their destination was Tarilia, but their journey first required them to navigate through a series of diplomatic waypoints. The first stop was a neutral space station, where representatives from various civilizations would gather. This summit was a prelude to the more challenging negotiations that awaited on Tarilia. Aboard the station, the atmosphere was tense with anticipation. Delegates from across the galaxy exchanged formal greetings in a cacophony of languages, each accompanied by their own translators. Jack was an anomaly here, one of the few humans to ever participate in such a gathering. Arlia, ever the diplomat, introduced Jack with pride, emphasizing his critical role in the coalition. The summit began with a universal greeting, a ceremonial tradition that involved sharing a token of peace. Each representative presented a symbolic gift, from crystalline sculptures that hummed with life to sealed vials of sacred waters from hidden celestial oceans. Jack, having anticipated this, offered a meticulously engineered model of the solar system, its planets orbiting in harmonious synchronization. Discussions ensued, focusing on the threat posed by the rogue faction. Arlia took the lead, outlining the events that led to their urgent assembly. She spoke of the faction's recent activities, which included unauthorized incursions into protected zones and the accumulation of forbidden technologies. Her presentation was met with murmurs of concern and nods of understanding. Jack contributed by unveiling the coalition's strategic plans. He detailed the surveillance network and biological shields, explaining how these could be deployed universally to protect vulnerable areas without provoking direct conflict. His explanations were technical yet accessible, aiming to reassure the assembly of their defensive posture. The response was a mixture of admiration and skepticism. Some delegates questioned the feasibility of integrating such diverse technologies, while others expressed concern about escalating tensions. Jack and Arlia addressed each question with patience and precision, their answers demonstrating a deep understanding of both the technologies and the delicate political dynamics at play. As the summit drew to a close, a resolution was drafted. It called for a unified front against the faction's aggression, advocating for a balance between militant readiness and diplomatic efforts. It was a testament to the coalition's desire to maintain peace while preparing for potential conflict. With the resolution passed and the summit concluded, Jack and Arlia prepared to depart for Tarilia. The discussions had forged new alliances and strengthened old ones, creating a network of support that spanned the galaxy. Their ship, now a symbol of this united endeavor, was set to navigate towards Arlia's homeworld, where the heart of the conflict awaited. As they left the station, Arlia looked back at the gathering of ships, each preparing to disseminate the summit's decisions through their respective territories. She felt a surge of hope, bolstered by the collective commitment she had witnessed. Beside her, Jack adjusted the navigation controls, his human ingenuity now an integral part of a vast interstellar dialogue. Together, they set course for Tarilia, ready to confront the rogue faction leader with the full force of their newly forged alliances, hoping their combined strength would be enough to secure a future of peace. As the prototype ship approached Tarilia, the planet's vibrant hues became visible. Vast oceans interspersed with sprawling green continents and floating cities that shimmered against the backdrop of deep space. Arlia's eyes filled with a mixture of pride and trepidation as she pointed out her home city, a majestic structure of crystalline light, floating serenely above the planet's surface. The arrival was not unnoticed. Their approach was tracked by Tarilian defense systems, vigilant for any signs of the rogue faction's interference. As they entered the atmosphere, a squadron of Tarilian escort ships flanked them, a precautionary measure to ensure their safe passage to the Planetary Council. Landing on a platform that offered a panoramic view of the ocean, Jack and Arlia were greeted by members of the Planetary Council, along with a crowd of Tarilians who had gathered to witness the return of their compatriot and her unusual ally. The air was charged with anticipation, and the weight of the moment was palpable. The council convened an emergency session, with Arlia and Jack invited to speak. Arlia presented their case with compelling evidence of the rogue faction's activities, her voice resonant in the Grand Chamber. Jack followed, detailing the defensive strategies and alliances they had formed across the galaxy. His words, translated into Tyrillian, resonated with the Assembly, highlighting the potential of interstellar cooperation. As the Council deliberated, news arrived that the rogue faction had been spotted near a critical infrastructure site on the outskirts of Tyrillian territory. Without hesitation, Jack and Arlia volunteered to lead a coalition force to intercept them. The confrontation was swift and intense. The coalition forces, using the combined technologies and strategies developed with their allies, managed to outmaneuver and disable the rogue faction's ships. Jack piloted their craft with a precision that surprised even the Tyrillians, while Arlia coordinated the attack, ensuring minimal damage and casualties. In the aftermath, the rogue faction leader was captured and brought before the Planetary Council. In a historic session, Arlia advocated for leniency and rehabilitation over harsh punishment, arguing that understanding and integration would prevent future conflicts. Her plea was met with approval from the Council, marking a shift towards a more compassionate approach to justice. With the immediate threat neutralized, Jack and Arlia's focus turned to rebuilding and strengthening the new alliances they had forged. They worked tirelessly to implement the defense networks across vulnerable planets, ensuring that no other civilization would have to face threats alone. As their work progressed, Jack found himself more at home among the stars than he ever had on Earth. Tyrillia became a second home, a place where his skills and knowledge were as valuable as any native's. Arlia, seeing the changes in him, proposed a new venture, a research and diplomacy center, designed to foster further cooperation among the galaxy's diverse inhabitants. Jack, inspired by the possibility of continuing their work together, agreed enthusiastically. The center was established on the floating city, a symbol of their successful campaign and the enduring partnership between Earth and Tyrillia. From this new vantage point, they coordinated missions, mediated disputes,